Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Beyond the Groom Podcast. Our esteemed guest at this time is making his maiden voyage on the show, his initial appearance, and he is a doctor of veterinary medicine, a graduate of Colorado State University. He was the founder and chief veterinarian of Animal Health Services, and of course is the U.S. distributor for Yves Saint Bernard Italian pet grooming products. Dr. Cliff Faver, welcome to the program and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Jordan. Glad to be here and looking forward to the discussion here.
Absolutely. We thank you for your time. We know that you are a world-renowned speaker coming off yet another vast array of shows. We'll talk a little bit about that. And you always do so well with engaging the crowd there. We know this will be no different. So now you are embarking on somewhat of a new endeavor. We've done some virtual seminars before, but this one is going to be a little bit different. So could you divulge a little bit about what this new endeavor is going to entail, what this new virtual seminar that's coming up in just a few weeks is going to be about, without giving away too much information?
Well, I'm really excited about it because, a lot of the information is the same. This is going to be a little different because this time I'm actually going to be talking about recipes for different types of conditions on that. And, that's very important. It's nice to have a little bit of a cookbook. If you're not familiar with the products and what their uses are, then this should be very, very helpful. And, I always say, I can give you a recipe and you can cook a wonderful dinner. That doesn't make you a chef, but it makes for a wonderful dinner. So anybody that wants to become the chef, somebody that wants to take this to the next level, we always encourage you to go ahead and take our pet esthetician program. But each one of these little stepping stones are great. There's a lot of great information. And even ones that have been through a program, I think, would benefit greatly by getting some of these recipes, because sometimes they haven't dealt with things like sebaceous adenitis, or maybe they haven't heard some of the latest techniques on de-sheds and how to minimize your work on that. So always good information. I always say the best way to learn is redundancy. Just keep going through until it becomes second nature to you.
Now, one of the biggest things that people often take away from your in-person seminars is the opportunity to speak with you or Suzanne or meet up with the ISB team at the booth. So they feel like they can get really up close and personal, sort of add on to what they learn in the seminar. So after you do this virtual seminar, will there be any opportunity to ask questions or follow up on some of the things that they learn?
Absolutely. We're always available. That is what Suzanne and I do on our day-to-day. People have no idea the number of calls that we field on that. There's so many people out there, just individuals as well as the groomers, with dogs that have skin issues, and they don't know where to turn. In my opinion, this is the answer to a lot of those cases that the veterinarians can't touch, because the problem usually is on the outside. And because of that, the veterinary approach from treating from the inside out a lot of times doesn't work. One of the glories of what we do at Yves Saint Bernard was myself being a veterinarian, Suzanne being a groomer. We hit it from both aspects of it. So very calmly, when we have a case come up, I'll look at it from the veterinary side, she'll look at it from the grooming side, and we can solve a lot of problems. So a lot of questions that come after these seminars are, hey, I've got a case. And that's exactly what we do and why we do it. But we're always available to answer questions via email, text. I prefer phone calls, honestly, because it's a better chance to talk. But anybody can contact us after the seminar and we'll follow up on them.
I think one thing that I said this before that the Yves Saint Bernard team does, and yourself, of course, does so well, is the in-person interaction. And that will never go away. That's going to be a staple of all business and industry moving forward. But do you believe that some sort of virtual presence, whether it is a virtual seminar or consistent social media, do you think that is necessary moving forward, not only in the grooming industry, but in industry as a whole?
Absolutely. To be good at any career, any field, you've got to constantly be learning. And, the hard part anymore is, where do we get our information? And a lot of times we turn to the internet, we turn to Facebook and that. And honestly, those are not great sources. When I look at some of these Facebook posts with groomers, I've got this problem and there's 101 suggestions. but quite honest with you, most of them don't follow any science. And then people wonder why they're struggling, because they don't understand the background, they don't understand the science, they didn't ask the right questions because they haven't been trained. Part of our training as a veterinarian especially is learning to ask questions, learning to work through a process. You just don't randomly throw a product at a problem and hope that it works on that. And just because it worked in one dog doesn't mean it works in every dog, because if it doesn't follow the science, then it's not going to be consistent. And one of the standing jokes in vet school is hurry up and treat it so it doesn't get better in spite of you. And a lot of times I think that's what happens is, groomers or individuals may have one success, but that success, maybe it was going to get better on its own anyways. It's the consistency that we look for. So the bottom line to your question is education, education, education. The more you learn, the better you're going to get at it. And your learning needs to be from reputable sources. So like I say, Facebook, I would not consider reputable. Quite honest with you, a lot of the internet isn't either, because anybody can post anything. So, you have to be a little judicious about where you get your information.
Well, you sort of read my mind, Dr. Faver. Many of your presentations and seminars always harp back to science-based information. And why is science so important in education, in practice? And why do you preach so much about the science of your industry whenever you're in your seminars?
Well, if you understand the science, then it helps you in how you move forward. I mean, anytime you're trying to accomplish something, you need a plan. If you don't understand the science, it's hard to come up with a plan. It's just guesswork at that point. So, I'll just take, for example, somebody posts, my dog's itchy, what should I do? Well, not enough information. You've got to first do your due diligence and find out more information, get some history and do that. And then once you get the history and you kind of decide what the problem is, then you have to have a plan to move forward. And that's where the science comes in. And I always say there's three things to success for treating skin issues, especially, is you need to understand the science, you need to use the right techniques, and you need to use the right products. And if you compromise any of those, then you're not going to get the same results. And probably the place that gets compromised the most is in the science and the products. Techniques are easy, but picking the product that matches the case is very, very difficult a lot of times, partly because if you don't understand the science, you don't realize you're dealing with a bacterial fungal problem versus a mite problem versus an SA. If you don't understand those kind of things, then it's really hard to move forward with any type of plan that makes sense on that.
How does working with so many groomers and your background as a doctor of veterinary medicine help differentiate you from other speakers or other educators that are in your field? There's a vast array. Every trade show that you appear at, there's a great lineup of speakers, but I'm not sure that all of them have the same background that you do. So how do you feel that differentiates you?
Well, I always say 8 years of college for vet school and stuff kind of sets you apart to a certain extent, and that's not to belittle groomers. I always say there's the difference between a veterinarian and a groomer is a veterinarian learned it from the books, a groomer learned it from the hard knocks, and both of us come to table with some very, very important skills, knowledge, and that. In an ideal world, we need to combine those two, because quite frankly, a lot of times book learning doesn't give us the same, shall we say, common sense approach as what the groomers are going to take. A lot of groomers understand the science in the fact that they've seen it. They just don't understand the why on that. I truly feel we need to marry the professions, because I don't think most groomers know anything. Most veterinarians know anything about the grooming field. And so therefore, they're making judgments based on a lack of knowledge on that. And they don't even know to ask the questions. Now, realizing when it comes to hair and skin in the veterinary field, that's a very, very limited amount of education. I mean, I always say that I probably spent 30 minutes. We did nothing to understand cosmetics. We did nothing to understand when we put products on the skin, what they do. So the knowledge that we've gained on that has basically come from drug companies that come in with research papers that may or may not be pertinent. To have a research paper and say something like chlorhexidine at 4% kills bacteria and fungus in a petri dish, doesn't extrapolate into the grooming world, because as soon as you take that chlorhexidine and put it in a shampoo, if that shampoo's harsh, you've irritated the skin. It doesn't matter you kill the bacteria or fungus. If you dried the skin out, you irritated it, you set yourself up for another infection. So, those kind of things, if we could start marrying those two professions, and we have a better understanding of what that looks like, because most groomers don't even like using chlorhexidine because it's too harsh on their healthy hands. So just imagine if we have it on a pet that is irritated and dried out, what that's going to do to them. But like I say, we need to marry those two professions. We need to communicate better. We need to understand each other. We need to understand what each of us do to make it better. And so that's why, I've started doing things in the grooming field, back about 10 years ago. Now, I'm a little unique in the fact that most veterinarians don't see that as important. To me, I put it in high importance. And part of it is, in my hospital, my grooming department was part of my medical team, because I saw the benefit of good cosmetics and good care from the grooming side. And what I found is I could fix more things on the grooming side than I was able to fix on the veterinarian side. And when I finally learned that, I realized I needed to change my ways. Now, a lot of veterinarians have not gone through that. They haven't had that experience, so therefore they come at it with a different way of thinking. So that's where we need to start working on that. My eventual goal, or my initial goal, I should say, was to train the groomers so that they were ready to go when the veterinarians got on board, because veterinarians don't do baths. So if I teach the veterinarians and they don't do baths, or they have a technician that doesn't really know how to do a good bath, we're really not solving the problem. So we need let's say, a good army of groomers that understand it, know how to use the products, and then we just need to get the veterinarians on board and turn them loose. And I think the combination is going to eliminate a large percentage of our skin issues in the future.
All right, Dr. Faver, I'm going to be very honest here. There are very few things on the planet that you could get myself or a myriad of people to do for 3 to 4 hours at a time, especially a large group. Yet, every time I have the privilege of being at one of your seminars or getting the pictures from you guys to post for social media, I see dozens, sometimes hundreds of people flocking from nationwide to come to your seminars. And I know that you don't take that lightly, and you've earned that right as a world-renowned speaker, and you appreciate it. And some of these groomers call these seminars life-altering, life-changing, career-changing. I see the quotes myself. So how are you able to make someone, an audience member, engaged for 3 to 4 hours and provide so much information, yet make it digestible and make it, quite frankly, fun and entertaining? Even though that I'm a layman in the industry at best, I'm never bored when I'm at one of your seminars, whether I'm filming or just taking it all in or taking pictures. And I'm not even retaining as much information as some of the people who are in the industry. So do you plan out everything that you're going to say? Do you have an outline? How are you able to do that? Because that is a skill that is very rare in today's society.
Well, first of all, thank you for the compliments. I'm humbled and honored by those. I think the bottom line is we're all searching for a better way to do things, and because of that desire to find a better way, when somebody comes to the table with things that make sense, and I always say science makes sense. If we can make sense out of it, and we can take, and I'm going to talk from a groomer aspect, if I can take what I've seen from back to the school of hard knocks, I've seen it, and I can make sense out of it, then it is life-changing. It is eye-opening. It gives you a sense of satisfaction, the fact that now I can take it to another step because I understand on that. And a lot of people say, well, it's just me. The reality is I went through the exact same transition myself. When I first got involved with Yves Saint Bernard, I'll be honest, I was that kind of jerk of veterinarian that just put in grooming as an extra profit center. I wasn't looking at it. I had no idea about grooming, had no idea about groomers. I just wanted a good foundation that in my hospital we offered as many services services as possible. I wasn't looking at this to be a life-changing thing to me, when reality is the groomers started teaching me. And they started showing me things that I didn't understand in the very beginning. And when they started getting results, what I did is I said, okay, that's fine and dandy, but I want to know the why. If I don't understand the why, then this could be just luck here. And I don't believe in luck. I believe in good results on that. So, I went back and I did the studies. I looked at the products. I looked at the science in that, and put this all together. And the more I found out, the more excited I got. And so that's kind of the progression of my seminars. So basically, I'm taking people down the same road that I went down. The seminars are based on my research on that, things that I found to be true. Now, do I think everything is perfect and the newest and latest research? No, but I always say I'm a simple country boy. If it makes sense to me, I'm okay. I don't have to know that all the biochemical pathways that go on within the body that create the results. I'm results oriented. So if I can get the basic concepts and I can work through the process and get the answers that I need, that's my ultimate goal on that. I'll never be a researcher that sits in a lab that looks at one ingredient on the shampoo and take it to the nth degree. That's not me. I'm wanting results. And so that's everything that I base it on. And everything, our recipes and things that we do, those are all the things that tried and true. And honestly, I always say all the samples I give in the seminars, I haven't done one of those. Those are people that have trained the science, and then they've used the science to be able to accomplish great things. Once they graduate from the program, then a lot of those groomers are teaching me at that point, because they're going out knowing what they know, learning the science, and being able to apply it in different ways that a lot of times I never even thought about on that. So this is accumulation of not only my knowledge, but also the groomers' knowledge and people that are out there in the field actually doing it.